Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome on the Culture News. My name is David Serero, and I have the pleasure to have today on iHeartRadio on the Culture News, the one, the only, the great, the wonderful singer, ASAF Avidan. ASAF, how are you today?
I'm good, David. Thank you for having me.
Asaf, it's really, really an honor to have you. Thank you so much. There's a question I love to ask, even to people who are very well advanced in their career. I love to ask them, who are you?
Oh, my Lord, that is a very deep question, very quick. Who am I? I mean, I can tell you what I'm not. I'm not a musician. I'm not a member of a specific citizenship. I'm not, all these things, all these external labels seem restricting to me. So I don't know that I am any one of these things. I'm not my profession, and I'm not where I live, and I'm not. I try to be a what I see as a morally good and somehow humble person. That's what I try to be. I don't know how close I get or how eternally far I fall short, but that's what I try to be. But I do make music in the last 20 years, so I would say that I participate in the act of making music. I would say that I was born in Israel, raised in Jamaica. My parents were, I mean, they were originally from Israel, but they lived for a bazillion years in New York. So my musical influences are from whatever albums they brought back from the 70s in the States. Um, and now I live in Europe for well over a decade. So I lived in Italy for many years and now in France. So I don't really know what I am or who I am.
That's beautiful. So now you live in France. How do you like it? I'm sure you eat good food. You didn't get any weight.
I
So you have to
it's
tell me
really
your secret because every time I go back home to Paris, I eat, I come back to New York, I'm like a big potato. So
You're
what
not
is your
gonna like
secret?
it. The secret is that I am vegan, so I don't enjoy 90% of the French patisseries, and I didn't enjoy the Italian cheeses and meats and stuff. So I get away with it. But yeah, I live in France. I enjoy it very much. I moved here to get away from people, actually. I live in the middle of the countryside. I have 16 hectares. I don't know. I don't know how that translates to acres, but it's a lot of land and it's very raw and natural. And we have me and my partner here because we're both vegan. We rescue animals from the different industries that they suffer in. So that's what we do when I'm not touring with my music. So we have like a small rescue farm here and just stare at trees and rocks mainly. It's very quiet here. Very, very.
It's interesting when I ask who you are because even your music is very hard to define it, especially the last new album, which I again really love. I'm a huge fan of yours. So this is your first album in 5 years. This is this great new album called Unfurl, which is being released on October 10th. I've been waiting for that day. Please, October 10th, arrive as soon as possible. So, how would you describe your music? Because we go from jazz to funk to pop to electro to almost jungle music sometimes, lounge also. What would you say is your genre?
I would say that just like I told you in the beginning about the constraints of labeling feel weird to me in my personal life, I wouldn't constrain myself musically. I feel like I'm a collage artist. I've always been. I started off for, I guess most American audiences would not know who I am, but I started off more generic. I would say folk, rock, blues kind of thing, very influenced by 60s blues rock. Then kind of went into a bit more of a Dylan Leonard Cohen kind of singer-songwriter phase. And then I decided to move on and I found more influences from every single thing I could put my hands on. So electronic music, rap music, jazz music, film music, a lot of film like soundtrack influences. Um, I don't know. So if I needed to describe myself, I would say that I'm a collage artist, and that every theme of an album demands different colors, a different palette. And so I just use I kind of walk around pick and choosing whatever seems like the right brush and the right color in order to portray a certain emotion.
Wow, I love how you say collage. I never heard that before. I think this is absolutely brilliant because what is also very unique with you and what I was able to hear on the new album is that you put collage even within the song,
Yeah.
So it's not just one song is a different color. It's that you also start the song like this, then boom, up you turn and it's like a story. So that leads to also my question that I have for you in terms of how you create your own music, like how you do it. Do you say, oh, here there is a turning point? Like what's going on in your mind when you are created a new song? This is ASAF Avidan.
There is a process in which it's going to sound a bit I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, but the process is one that the artist is a shaman. He walks between the world of the living and the world of the dead, between the here and the eternal. He needs to, or they need to go through the passage in order to seek something that is deep down and is more real than the reality that we live in. So you can call it the subconscious, you can call it the divine, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but one must exercise some power of deconstructing the self, letting go of all the things that you think are you in order to dig deeper in this excavation, dig deeper and deeper until you find something that you feel is a nugget of truth. That's really what I feel my job is to find moments of honesty that I feel that if I am brave enough to describe this honesty to myself, maybe others can find themselves through that. That I think is the job. And so the process is a very painful one because every time you walk close to truth, there is a river that sweeps you into a current of melancholy, into I don't know, it's just and there's also this thing that you start off with grand desires for your music, for your song, for whatever it is that you're trying to create. And then you imagine there's a whole ocean in front of you, and you're like, okay, I want to show people this ocean. And you grab with your feeble, small hands as much of the ocean as you can, and you start running, and it drips and it drips and it drips. And by the end of the day, after your labor and you've been running all day, all you have to show is one little drop in your hands, and you say, oh, this is the ocean. And you're trying to describe the ocean through that one drop that you have left in your hands. That's how it feels when I write. It feels that I'm always light years away from what I set out to describe. But once you let go of that megalomanic need to describe it as precisely as you thought you needed to, there's a freedom that says, okay, I cannot show you the entire ocean. I can show you one drop here and one little drop there and one little drop there. And maybe that will be enough to ignite an image of an ocean in your own deep soul. So that's how it feels like. It feels like a lot of self pain and a lot of throwing myself against a wall until there is a blood stain beautiful enough that I feel is sufficient.
That's a beautiful way to say music. Do you regret sometimes that you open yourself so much into a song?
Never, never. That's the mission. The mission, there's moments of grace where I feel I have been sufficiently open. Most of the time, I feel that I've been cheating. Water, if we're talking about water, when it flows, it finds the easiest course to follow. And then slowly, once there's a little stream, then, more water flows through it and it becomes a river. And then it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's where the water will go. That's how songwriting is. If you're not careful, you're just going to be repeating yourself over and over. Because it's the easiest. You have muscle memory and you have the brain memory that you know how to write a song by now. It's your eighth album. And so I feel that's a very dangerous place for the artist to be. So if anything, what I cry about is the moments that I haven't found enough honesty and enough vulnerability within myself.
I see. Thank you so much for sharing that. So that's your Unfurl will be your how many album? Your eighth album?
Eight, eight
Eighth
albums.
album.
You're counting also because I've worked as ASAF AVIDAN and I worked with as ASAF AVIDAN in the Mojos, a different band that I had. So you're
Okay.
counting them all.
So, what was the reaction of the very, very first album? What do you recall of it when it came out? Because I remember it came like a big sensation. Like you couldn't open, I was in Paris at that time. You couldn't open a French magazine and
Yeah.
people talking about you and playing. And this was, and I remember all the press that, it's very hard to have them talk about music, even the fashion press, like maybe Vogue or the magazines like that, they were talking about you. What was the reaction for you at that moment?
It all happened very fast. I didn't start off as a musician. I studied cinema and then I studied animation and I was an animator for a long time. And that was kind of my profession until my late 20s. And then I transitioned into music. And the minute I picked up a guitar and started singing, everything kind of avalanched very quickly. And so I found myself in a reality that I found normal because I didn't know anything else. I didn't know any other musician friends, and I didn't see that they were struggling to get to those places. And I thought, okay, you release an album, people write about it, people are interested, you perform. And so I think only lately when I've transitioned into, not just a linear graph going up and up and up in a career, you reach some places as, even the greatest artists, even like people like Dylan have in years that they were, like they were outside the eye of the public. Um, so I think I've reached a place in my career that I'm not sure I'm going down, but I think I'm in some kind of plateau. The audience that knows me knows me. I'm appreciated in the circles, but I'm not like the big new thing, that everybody's talking about, which is okay with me, but it is making me appreciate that time of how quickly things happened and um, how much reaction was to something that I did. And as you heard, what I do is very, very personal. The idea that people react to it so strongly is still magical to me. To this day, like 15 years later, I mean, it's still there is something very beautiful about it. You want to think that humans possess all humans. It doesn't matter if we're in Africa, Asia, this America, whatever. That we have a universal core. That something in our soul reverberates in the same way. It doesn't matter our age or our sexuality or religion or our ethnicity. You want to imagine that as a liberal person. And then when you write something so personal about your own personal shitty experience in your own personal shitty little world, and then you find that people of different cultures and different um, ages and different sexes and different everything, they relate to it in the same way. It doesn't just flatter me as a singer-songwriter. It redeems a part of humans that I'm searching for. Like it means that we all rhyme, we reverberate in the same manner when our souls are touched. Um, and that's such a beautiful understanding in a world that is more and more and more divisive and more looking for the differences between people. As cliche as as it sounds, an artist needs to be a bridge and not a wall. And that's the feeling when people react to your music. If it's personal and honest and still people are touched by it, you realize that something within you is the same as with others. And that's a beautiful thing.
Beautiful. So, last two questions before I let you enjoy your the nice weather and the nice baguette, you know. So,
Yeah.
what is the message that you want people to take away from this new album, Unfurl, and the new singles compared to the previous albums?
I'm not sure it's a message, but it's experience. The experience that I felt, it's very philosophical. I was reading Carl Jung and I was reading Joseph Campbell and I was thinking about the subconscious and the conscious, all these things that we discussed. There is a meditative moment where you finally are able to not just talk about the infinite, the divine. You really feel it. Some people need, drugs to get there. Some people need meditation to get there. Some people just need to read poetry or see a beautiful flower and they suddenly have a moment. Some people need to feel love. Whatever it is that you do in order to get yourself there, that moment of rapture between the self and the everything that's not the self and the other, is such a grand moment. That's the what I want people to feel. The awe, the beauty of it, and also the fear of it, because once you let go into the infinite, you are letting go of yourself. So I want people just to experience a complex set of emotions where beauty and fear and suffering and hope are all intermixed together and they are all equally justified.
I love that. Thank you so much again. So, last question. I want to know more about your voice, you know. So, being an opera singer myself, I'm always interested about the vocal training, but also the vocal function of a singer. So, how do you think vocally? What is your vocal approach, and how did you train? How do you practice? Tell us about all your vocal life, if I can say.
I think, first of all, one must have fathers and mothers. One has to look at the previous people. And if I find Billie Holiday's singing favorable, if I find Nina Simone intriguing, if I find even Bob Dylan, um, I look into what it is that I love about other artists. And then there is a part of imitation, but hopefully you get to a place where you find your own voice, metaphorically and physically. I think my secret is never to try to be beautiful. That's not the key. The key is to be honest. And the human voice has such a wide spectrum, has such a wide variety. You can whisper, you can scream, you can go high, you can go low, you can bring them in, and you can surprise them, going towards them. All these things. I mean, the human voice is in and of itself an entire language to be I don't know, explored. And so that's how I feel with it. And so I'm not afraid if I don't sound beautiful or if I'm not singing correctly or if I think that's my only 2 cents to give anybody that tries to take, like, don't ever try to sound beautiful and don't ever try to sound too much like somebody else. Try to find what it is that you produce that makes you feel, oh, that's the feeling I was trying to portray. There it is, you know? It sounds weird. It sounds smaller than I thought it would be. It doesn't sound like the what I'm hearing on the pop radio, but it is something that translates my inner self into the outer world. Um, it's just a tool, and it's a very, very, very varied tool. So just explore it. And then there's technical things. Sleep well, drink a lot of water. Everything else is bullshit. I've been touring for, as I said, 15 years. There were years where I did, like 150, 180 shows a year. And the only thing that really works, I've tried everything because, at some point your voice gets tricky. It's a very fragile, musical instrument. And I've tried everything from, like hardcore medicine to the Eastern remedies to whatever. And the only thing that truly, truly, truly works is really 8 hours of sleep a night and a lot of water during the day. And yeah, and the rest and then you can fuck up your voice as much as you want.
Well, I hope you won't fuck up your voice.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
No, no, we need it, and a lot of people started to say about your voice that he has this androgynous sound that is we some people thought is it a man, is it a woman? That there is this question. How do you feel about that? And was it what also you wanted to create that little question mark about you?
No, I didn't try to create it, but I have no problem with it. It certainly, I'm not offended by it and I'm not complimented by it. People's reactions are their own. And I do realize that my voice, especially my singing voice, is very peculiar and ambivalent. People think, I'm a, I don't know, African American female singer from the 60s. I've heard that a bazillion times. Great. I don't know. I mean, I can say that my favorite vocalists are female vocalists. But there's been so many, when you listen to Robert Plant, when you listen to even more modern stuff like Jack White. Jack White sings very high and I would say androgynous. Freddie Mercury. Yeah, there's so many insanely good singers that sing in a high range. I really, I never thought about it. I just sing. I had a lot of, especially in the beginning, I needed to outlet a lot of internal struggles and pains. And it just came out louder and higher and louder and higher, almost like a screeching cat, like, and I'm okay with that. It depicts what I needed to depict, and that's what I needed to be. Then whatever people want to call it afterwards is up to them.
I thought you'd be listening to a lot of castrati, a lot of a countertenor in the Baroque. Did you listen to these guys, or it's actually not your?
It's not really my forte, but I do listen. But there's a lot of things that I listen to that have these kinds of, if you listen to, I don't know, Mexican folk music, they have these beautiful falsetto and high timbre kind of reach, and also Italian folk that I listened to when I was in Italy. I think, I think it's very much this idea of masculinity through the voice is I'm pretty sure it's exaggerated. Like there's so many male vocalists through as you say classical music um until present day that people use their wide range of voices and also the opposite, female vocalists that want to use a lower register. I think it's all this restriction and all this labeling doesn't really help the artistic endeavor of opening up to more options.
Yeah, I agree with you. But you think in falsetto, and then you bring a little bit more body, or this is like your chest voice, or you think more, yeah, and then you push it to give it more color?
I think it would have been way easier for me if I were like a falsetto guy, like Tom York kind of thing, where you use very little power and you direct it, and I can falsetto, but falsetto is not what I'm going for. I want to go high and make it hurt. I love the idea that I'm not sure if I can reach that note. I love the idea that I need to press more and give even more power in order to reach that high. I love that my voice breaks because it feels like I feel inside. So that's what I like. I sometimes, if you hear, I have 8 albums, so if you hear, I'm sure there's like 2 or 3 songs with falsettos, and I'm sure there's like, I don't know, some songs that I go in a lower register. Um, and in this album, you can even hear me going through the different registers in even in one song. It's just a ride, and that's what I'm trying to depict, both with the musical writing and the way I sing it.
All right. Well, listen, I told you last two questions, but I asked you to listen. So this is the Moroccan way, you know what I mean? So I want to say how honored I am to have you today on the show. You are such a legend, such a wonderful artist, and you brought something new. You made the choice of being singular, and we're so glad for that. And it's true, when you see today everybody sound the same, but you made that choice, and I want to applaud you for that. And you continue with that choice. And this new album that I need everybody to go to check, it's absolutely wonderful. It's called Unfurled. This is your first album in 5 years. What took you so long? For Unfurled, which is being released October 10th. So on October 10th, I want everybody to be in front of the computer, the phones, whatever you want, and listen to this album, to purchase it. ASAF Avidan, he is such a wonderful artist. He has this new track, Unfurling Dream. This is a beautiful album, was recorded in the south of France, and you will hear this beautiful orchestra, 40-piece live orchestra. And you hear it. You hear the sound. If you purchase your album, I can assure you you're worth every penny of it, because he really puts the effort, and definitely anything that he can. 40-piece live orchestra, with the rhythm section of jazz. This is a beautiful album. This is a movie you're listening. This is such a beautiful thing. I hope you will do a musical very soon. I hope you will do a musical film very soon, because that's where also your music belongs. So I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to our dear friend Brandon Bork, and all the best to you, Asaf.
David, you've been too kind. Thank you so much.
It's an honor. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is David Serero. I had the pleasure to have today on the Culture News on iHeartRadio the one and only Asaf Avidan. He has released his new album called Unfurl, being released on October 10th. Stay tuned with us. Right now, you're listening his new single. Stay tuned with us. It's a beautiful day.